Hey folks, Sethos Restores here. So I thought it was about time that I give my sort of closing impressions, in the short term at least, of the Drötek MTXE metal detecting kit. Now, for full disclosure, this was provided to me on a scheme where I pay for it up front, and then on delivery of a review, doesn't have to be a good review, it has to be my thoughts, but on delivery of a review with good pictures and video, I will get that paid back via a rebate. So just to have that out there, but all thoughts are my own. Drötek will not be previewing this review before it goes up. They don't know the content that I'm putting in. And so here it is. Now, straight up, here is the unit itself. Might not get the whole thing in camera, but so let's go end to end. We have a 9-inch sensor, waterproof sensor. This is fine. I have had no issues with this. You can swing it fairly sort of freely without worrying too much, and it will pick things up. It does seem to be a very capable sensor. It's friction locked with this thumb sort of finger thumb screw thing here. That works brilliantly. This is a metal pole with some rubber in there that grips. That's fine. This doesn't flap around, but it's very easy to sort of loosen it off and stow it. There is a plastic collar after the first rod here for oh, here we go. It's a little tight after it's been down the beach. That's fine. Loosening and tightening, and ball detents, dual ball detents. There's two here with what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5? Yeah, 5 positions where you can lock it. Actually, the sensor wire comes up here. There is a small Velcro tag here to assist with that. Coming up to the plug into the control unit, which takes a single 9-volt battery. The control unit itself is very good, I would say. It has a headphone jack on it. Sorry, I'll get onto that in a moment. But the discrimination on it works very well. The display is very clear. The sound is very clear. It's easy to tell when you're picking up varying different things. I haven't had a chance to try this in a field yet, so I can't really comment on the different zoning, the pasture, park, sand and all metals, but sand certainly seems to work well. It automatically discriminates iron in that case, and that seems fine. The pinpointing on it is pretty darn good. So all in all, I would say that the actual base function of it, very good. Plastic, but good and solid. This doesn't feel creaky or cheap. It's good, solid. The unit mounts into the handle via a screw with a nut on the other side, I would assume. That works very well. There's another dual ball detent for the upgraded. And I'm assured that all of them are getting the upgrade, because apparently the early units had a very loose wobbly pole. This seems to be fixed. It is fine now, leading into a very comfortable, very useful arm brace with a Velcro strap that I haven't needed to use yet. It does have some soft adhesive back padding there, and a stand so that you can lay it down nicely. There's a thumb screw to lock that unit in as well, if for some reason you don't want the brace or need to take it off, whatever, but that works very well. So all in all, I would say that this is a solid beginner's unit. The price is great. Is it perfect? No, and I'll come on to that now. The only issue I have actually found with this is this plug doesn't seem to lock in very positively at all. It's quite easy for it to come loose. It's a 5-pin DIN connection, and I do kind of wish that the socket was maybe a bit tighter, or it had some kind of locking there. Just something to better hold it in place, because I have had it come loose during use, and at that point the unit doesn't necessarily shut off, it just kind of stops reading or you get some odd ghosting. But it's not a big deal. Just every so often, you've got your hand here, just reach up and, you know, finger, just one finger, two fingers, double check it's in. Otherwise, absolutely fine. I've had no issues with the unit whatsoever. It doesn't seem to be a battery hog or anything like that. Now, this is a complete kit, or not necessarily complete, but it is a good kit, so that means it must come with more things. Next up, we'll move to the headphones that come with the unit. There's that 3.5 inch, 3.5 mil jack that goes into the unit. The headphones work well. They have an inline volume control, which is very good. It's a great braided cable. It feels nice. It's not too long, not too short, so you're not going to have a ton of cable getting in the way. They're folding, extending, soft padding. Nothing amazing if you're into headphones. You know, this is not super duper memory foam or anything like that, but you know, they're essentially free to a degree, and they work brilliantly for the job. Cheekily, I have tried plugging them into my phone to listen to some music. You don't want to do that. This is not what they are for, and you will not get a good listening experience. But in an emergency, they'd do fine. Or I would suggest that these are possibly good for plugging into some electric instruments if you're into musical hobbies as well. You know, I know that some small electric violins, for example, come with headphones. These would be fine for that, but not for you know, a proper listening experience. Like I say, that's not what they're for, so I'd never dock points for that. Branding is good. There's a nice soft touch black finish here and here. All in all, these actually feel pretty quality for, you know, given the fact that you're not essentially paying for them, and I'll get onto that. The kit is more expensive than the unit on its own by a small margin, but there's another piece in the kit that definitely takes up that value. So yeah, these are a great addition. I'm glad they have them. It means that you can just shut off from the world while you're doing it if you're on your own. I haven't used these much because I tend to go metal detecting with my son, but once they're back at school and I'm doing it on my own, I will thoroughly just plug into these and shut off from the world. So yeah, I'm glad of those. Next up, we are going to go to, if I can separate these two items, because I've got one attached to the other. Finds bag. This, again, the nice Dr. Drötek branding. Apologies if I call them Dr. Oetker, that's one of my favourite frozen pizza manufacturers. I keep getting it confused every now and then. It's a waist belt clip. Works brilliantly. Molly style connections here, so you could maybe attach a small pinpointer or your keys or something there. That's fine. They feel good and strong. The bag itself feels pretty solid for, you know, what you'd want. It has two pouches, so you've got your big main pouch here, but then there's also an internal zip, which is also the full size of the bag. So the bag is basically split in half in that sense. And I think that's great. You can either keep some of your own stuff in there, or if you go out with lots of pockets on you, you could maybe keep trash and fines separate easily, or even different kinds of fines. It depends on what you're doing, of course. But the zips feel good and solid. They've got nice large pulls on them in case you're wearing gloves, all seasons, you know, or wet fingers. It's an enclosed zip, so it doesn't look like it's going to get full of crud, you know. Brilliant. And now onto the piece that I think takes up basically the rest of the kit value. It does come with a brilliant shovel. This thing comes with a hip bag or a belt bag. Full disclosure, mine did come with a little tear on the belt straps. I have reported this more as a manufacturing defect possibly, because it doesn't bother me. But I have reported this and they are sending me out a new bag. No questions asked. The service is brilliant there. It also comes with this strap, which I use because then the weight is hanging against your leg for me. Again, the Dr. Drötek branding. Velcro feels fine. This feels solid enough to handle this piece which is good because this is heavy. I have magnet tested it. This is steel. What you have here is you have a shovel and a pick, which is a great combo. It is a two-piece handle. It's a fairly tight thread though, so I don't bother, you know, unscrewing and screwing it back in. I keep the handle on it at all times. Has two chunky rubber grips on it. The shovel itself has serrations on one side. It has a decent point with a bevel, not sharp, but it does have a bevel. There's a bottle opener, a little hex there for some reason, not sure what the little hex is for really. The pinch bolt there is dual Allen head or hex head, so you can tighten that up easily. It's not a rivet that you can't do anything with. The collar feels absolutely fine for locking it, and honestly this thing is a tank. You know, I'm pretty sure that's millimeter thick steel. Certainly if not millimeter, it's 0.8, you know, it's close to. It is graded in inches and centimeters on the side here. Sadly, not from the tip, but from the edge. But it still helps you gauge how deep you're digging. The metal detector is very good at showing you roughly what depth, down to I think it's 5 inches, 4 inches, the finds are expected to be found at. And so having that there is useful. It does have a bit of a bend there, so if you really want to put some force in, you could maybe butt of your hand or foot. It's a bit short for that, but essentially you can use it however you need to. Again, the pick is not a sharp point, but this is a good thing because it means it doesn't have a sharp point to get destroyed. You don't need a knife sharp point, for example. What you need is a good enough solid point for hitting into hard ground, and this has that in droves. This is one of the best pieces of the whole kit, and definitely why I would suggest buying, a big part of why I would suggest buying this metal detector over any other in the price range. This is worth having if you are getting a beginner's metal detector. If they sell this specific model separately at some point, worth buying regardless. It is a great tool to have, and I am super impressed with this, in case you hadn't guessed. Back to the metal detecting unit itself. As a 6 foot 1 inch tall gentleman, the one thing I have found is that I would say for me, the arm isn't quite long enough. It has been reported that there is a tall boy pole in the works. I very much look forward to that. I expect that would be just a straight replacement pole for this one, possibly with an additional 1 or 2 detents. That for me would make this even better, but it is a good length. It is a good average length for the average person. I can hold it relatively comfortably where it needs to be. I would just prefer it to be slightly longer because I'm that little bit taller. So it is a good unit in that sense. It's light enough without feeling fragile. I suffer with fibromyalgia. That is a chronic exhaustion and pain illness. So I get tired very quickly. My muscles get tired very quickly. And whilst I do occasionally have to swap this hand to hand, it's not so heavy that it causes me problems. And that makes this a far better entry into the hobby for me. If this was too heavy, I wouldn't be able to use it. Not to any reasonable length of time. So having it be a good weight without feeling like I'm going to break it if I suddenly drop to one knee, for example, sometimes happens. It's a good thing, trust me. I am very confident in using this unit, and I don't say that lightly at all. So all in all, I would say that for what you're paying, and I believe, if memory serves, this comes in, it's below 200 quid. I think at full price it's around 186 British pounds. Naturally, your conversion rate may differ. I'm not sure about the prices in other territories, but 186 British pounds for the whole kit, I would say, is a steal for a beginner. It does come with very clear instructions. It also came with a battery. These are both excellent things. It means you can just say pick it up from the post office if it wasn't delivered to your house, and just go straight out and do what you need to do. The packaging was very good. It came in good condition, also very easily recycled packaging, which I appreciate. And they didn't spend a ton of their budget making the packaging super pretty and fancy, and then for the unit to turn out to be a disappointment. The packaging is very understated, and I actually prefer that personally. I would rather the money was put into research and development. I'm a member of the Dr. Drötek Volunteers group and the Dr. Drötek Metal Detectors group on Facebook. Both are friendly communities. I am in private talks with a representative with the company as well. A very friendly, very easy company to deal with. I would have no questions about customer services, no worries about replacement parts and so on. They do seem like they are very intent on taking care of their user base, and that is also very important to me. It means that I haven't got to worry about such things, which, in my state, I don't need additional things to worry about when I'm taking on a new hobby. And I think their attitude towards the hobby base, the people in this hobby, does seem to be very good. I mean, even just down to this rebate program here. My YouTube channel is tiny, it has a handful of users, but rather than just flat out saying no chance, it's okay, well, if you give us a decent length written and perhaps video review, then you can have the unit. You'll need to pay for it up front, but we'll give you that money back on receipt of the review. That to me is fantastic. That tells me that they're not just after the big influencers. They don't want their unit to be just marketed. They want it in the hands of the right people. With that, Southwest Restores review finished. Sorry, I'm about to get a knock on the door.